We'll start today's broadcast with a look ahead of the launch of the new Progress 63 cargo craft. Loaded with 3 tons of food, fuel, and supplies, is scheduled to launch on time today, March 31st, from the Baikonur Cosmodrome in Kazakhstan. We'll provide coverage of today's launch at 11 a.m. Central Time for a launch at 11:23 a.m. Central Time. The Progress 63 craft will continue to orbit the Earth until it docks to this station on Saturday, April 2nd. On Saturday, we'll start NASA TV coverage at 12:15 p.m. Central Time for a docking scheduled for 1 p.m. Central Time. Meanwhile, the crew on board the International Space Station spends the day doing more science and maintenance.
You are looking live at launch site 31 at the Baikonur Cosmodrome in Kazakhstan, where less than 24 minutes from now, a Soyuz 2.1A booster is scheduled to lift off on an 8-minute 45-second journey to send the latest unpiloted Progress resupply ship to its preliminary orbit en route to a 2-day rendezvous to deliver 3 tons of food, fuel, and supplies to the International Space Station. Good day and welcome to our coverage of the launch of the ISS Progress 63 cargo craft to the International Outpost. The countdown proceeding on track at the Baikonur Cosmodrome, where the temperature is about 46 degrees Fahrenheit. Cloudy skies, a light drizzle, no bluebonnets blooming there, unlike here in Texas, where we are at the Johnson Space Center in Houston, where the Orbit 2 team of flight controllers is on console at this hour. You can see the countdown clocks in the front of the white flight control room here at the Johnson Space Center, ticking backward towards liftoff. The liftoff time will be 11:23 and 57 seconds Central Time, 10:23 and 57 seconds p.m. at the launch site in Baikonur. All of the pre-launch preparations continue to go well for an on-time liftoff from Site 31. This is the second of 2 sites that the Soyuz rockets are launched from. The other is, of course, Site 1, Yuri Gagarin's launch pad, where most, if not all, of the Soyuz manned vehicles are launched from. Here in the flight control room in Houston, the Orbit 2 team of flight controllers, as we mentioned, is on console at this hour. Jeff Radigan is our flight director today. He is joined on console by spacecraft communicator Christy Bertels, who is talking to the Expedition 47 crew as they run through the second half of their workday. A video feed of the launch activities and the liftoff down in Baikonur being uplinked to them so they can follow the Progress's course toward orbit and the start of its 2-day rendezvous to reach the International Space Station, with docking scheduled on the aft port of the Zvezda service module on Saturday, April 2nd at 1 p.m. Central Time, 2 p.m. Eastern Time. Half a world away at the Russian Flight Control Room at the Russian Mission Control Center in Korolyov outside Moscow. Russian flight controllers are standing by to monitor the Progress's ascent to orbit. The launch, of course, is controlled out of Baikonur. As soon as it reaches its preliminary orbit, 8 minutes and 45 seconds after launch, the control of the Progress's activities will be transferred over to that launch control team at the Russian Mission Control Center in Korolyov, just outside of Moscow. Just over 2 weeks ago, prior to their launch, Expedition 47 crew members Jeff Williams of NASA and Russian cosmonauts Alexei Ovchinin and Alex Gripochka had an opportunity in the integration building at the Baikonur Cosmodrome to inspect the progress as it was under its final assembly prior to its rollout to the launch pad. That inspection afforded them the opportunity to see very close up all of the mechanisms of the forward docking mechanism itself of the Progress vehicle, that they will be monitoring its approach for its docking and link up to the aft port of the Zvezda service module 2 days from now. The Progress itself rolled out on a rail car to the launch site at launch site 31 of the Baikonur Cosmodrome on Tuesday. It was vertically hoisted into its launch position. The gantry arms closed around the Progress to enable launch pad technicians and engineers to hook up fuel lines and electrical lines for the final 48 hours of processing prior to liftoff, which is just 19 minutes and 30 seconds from now. This Progress is the second in the series of the so-called MS series of vehicles, MS standing for Modified Systems, upgrades made to the Progress as well as to the Soyuz boosters. This Progress MS vehicle comes on the heels of the launching just before Christmas last December of the 62 Progress vehicle. The 62 Progress is currently docked to the Pirs docking compartment on the Earth-facing port of the Russian segment of the International Space Station. The upgraded MS systems include an upgraded command and telemetry system, an upgraded CORS automated rendezvous radar system, satellite navigation systems, redundant motors for the hooks that will ultimately form a hard mate at the docking interface between the Progress and the service module, additional shielding for micrometeoroid orbital debris protection, an LED spotlight on the front end of the Progress vehicle, and other upgrades to communications systems. The 2 flights of the Progress in this MS configuration were mandated by the Russian management of Roscosmos before they would put a crew on board a Soyuz MS vehicle, the MS-01 vehicle, the first to fly a crew to the International Space Station. Will be launched on June 21st with NASA astronaut Kate Rubins, Roscosmos cosmonaut Anatoly Ivanishin, and Japan Aerospace Exploration Agency astronaut Takuya Onishi. They will be the first, the pathfinders, if you will, to fly a Soyuz MS vehicle to the International Space Station. Again, their launch coming up on June 21st. This is a deliberate 2-day rendezvous, a shakedown flight, if you will, of the Progress systems to make sure that all of the equipment is fully demonstrated and checked out to the satisfaction of the Russian flight control team, as was the case back in December for the first Progress MS vehicle. The docking again is scheduled on Saturday, April 2nd to the aft port of the Zvezda service module. That port was vacated yesterday when the Progress 61 cargo craft that first arrived at the station back in October undocked from the aft port of the Zvezda service module. It undocked yesterday, allowing that port to be vacated. It has now drifted to a safe distance away from the International Space Station for about 8 additional days of testing that will ultimately result in its deorbit, where it will burn up harmlessly over the Pacific Ocean on April the 8th. On board the International Space Station, the 6 residents of the orbital outpost, the Expedition 47 crew, watching as this video from the pad in Baikonur is being uplinked to them from here in Houston. From left to right is Russian cosmonaut Oleg Skripochka, NASA astronaut Jeff Williams, Alexei Ovchinin of Roscosmos, Tim Peake of the European Space Agency, the commander of Expedition 47, NASA astronaut Tim Kopra, and on the far right, Yuri Malenchenko. They have been busy throughout the course of the day so far with a variety of scientific experiments and maintenance work, now well into the second half of their crew workday. For Kopra, Peake, and Malenchenko, this is their 108th day in space. They'll be returning to Earth in June. For Skripochka, Williams, and Ovchinin, they are approaching the 2-week mark since they were launched from the Baikonur Cosmodrome on their Soyuz spacecraft. They are now on their 13th day in space, their mission to extend through September. The International Space Station is currently flying 251 statute miles above the Earth in an orbit inclined 51.6 degrees to either side of the equator, moving from southwest to northeast, approaching the west coast of Africa. At the time of launch, at 11:23 and 57 seconds Central Time this morning, the station will be flying just over northeastern Iraq near the Iranian border. As we approach the 13-minute mark before launch, everything from the blockhouse at Baikonur from launch controllers reported to be going by the book, no issues whatsoever. During the ascent phase, the 8 minutes and 45 seconds it will take for the Progress to travel from the launch pad to its preliminary orbit. The Soyuz booster will shed itself of its 4 liquid-fueled strap-on boosters at 1 minute and 57 seconds after launch. The second stage, or core engine, if you will, that ignites along with the boosters at liftoff, will continue firing for several minutes. The second stage to shut down at the 4-minute 37-second mark after launch. There is what is known as a hot stage ignition of the third stage of the Soyuz rocket. What that means is that the third stage ignites prior to the shutdown of the second stage. This is why there is a latticework interstage area between the second and third stages of the Soyuz booster to enable that to take place. The third stage engine then operates for just over 4 minutes until it will be scheduled to shut down at the 8-minute 45-second mark after launch, placing the Progress resupply vehicle into its preliminary orbit. Seconds later, if all goes as planned, the Progress's appendages, its solar arrays and navigation antennas will be deployed, and the Progress will be on its way, starting its 2-day trek to the International Space Station. There are 2 so-called DV burns, or delta velocity burns, of the Progress engine that will take place later today. A third such engine firing, or rendezvous burn, if you will, on Friday. That will increase the Progress's altitude relative to the International Space Station and also refine its path to the station, setting it up for its terminal rendezvous on Saturday. And by the way, our rendezvous and docking coverage on Saturday on NASA TV will begin at 12:15 p.m. Central Time, 1:15 p.m. Eastern Time. Docking again on Saturday is scheduled at 1 p.m. Central, 2 p.m. Eastern Time. Sunday morning, the hatch to the Progress will be open, and the crew will begin the unloading of its cargo. 3 tons of cargo being brought up to the International Space Station. That is broken down to 1,940 pounds of propellant, 110 pounds of oxygen, 926 pounds of water, 3,161 pounds of dry cargo, and it will represent the second cargo ship to reach the International Space Station in as many weeks, coming just 1 week after the arrival of the orbital ATK Cygnus cargo craft that was grappled and berthed to the Earth-facing port of the Unity module of the International Space Station last Saturday. And it is the second of 3 cargo vehicles planned to reach the space station in as many weeks, with the SpaceX Dragon cargo craft being prepared at the Cape Canaveral Air Force Station in Florida for its launch on April 8th and an arrival at the station on Sunday, April 10th.
Готовность к пуску 5 минут первый. Готовность 5 минут к пуску принял 20. Готовность к пуску 5 минут принял 30. Готовность к пуску 5 минут принял 50. Готовность к пуску 5 минут принял 60. Готовность принята первый.
Just 9.5 minutes from launch now. At the T-minus 8-minute mark, the command will be issued called the key to start position. This is a launch controller in the blockhouse at Baikonur who will rotate a key that initiates a terminal ground launch sequencer that is in control of all of the final minutes of activity relative to the launch pad preparations, the termination of the stable replenishing of the fuel on board the Soyuz booster, and the final commands for the release of 2 umbilicals that are buttressed up against the side of the Soyuz booster. The first umbilical to retract at about T-minus 31 seconds, the second umbilical to retract at about the T-minus 12 second mark that will initiate the engine ignition sequence. Seven and a half minutes now until launch. Everything continues on track for an on-time launch at 11:23 and 57 seconds a.m. Central Time, 10:23 and 57 seconds p.m. at the Baikonur Cosmodrome in Kazakhstan. And as mentioned earlier, this is a deliberate 34-orbit or 2-day rendezvous profile in order to test all of the upgraded systems on the new Progress MS configuration, the modified systems config that will come into play for the first crewed launch of an MS-Soyuz vehicle in June by Kate Rubins of NASA, Anatoly Ivanishin of Roscosmos, and Takuya Onishi of the Japan Aerospace Exploration Agency, who will join the Expedition 48 crew at that time and also be part of Expedition 49. T-minus 6 minutes until launch. And the launch key has now been rotated. The Soyuz booster now under command of a ground launch sequencer. A short time from now, strip chart recorders and other data recorders in the Launch Control Center will be activated to pull all of the telemetry of the launch vehicle from its liftoff through third stage shutdown and spacecraft separation. T-minus 5 minutes and counting. The purging of the combustion chamber with nitrogen is now underway. That fireproofs the combustion chambers by removing vapors of fuel and oxidizer. The booster tanks will be pressurized at the T-minus 2 minute 45 second mark. T-minus 4 minutes. The International Space Station currently flying over the border between Jordan and Saudi Arabia, moving from southwest to northeast. Coming up on the 2.5 minute mark until launch. The countdown continues to proceed smoothly. And the booster tanks are now being pressurized. This optimizes fuel flow and provides additional structural rigidity to the launch vehicle. Inside 2 minutes now. "90 seconds until launch." The ground propellant feed has now been terminated to the vehicle. 1 minute until launch. Again, the two umbilicals on the side of the Soyuz booster will fall back sequentially, the first to retract at about the T-minus 31 second mark. The vehicle now on internal power. The first umbilical now retracting. Auto sequence has been initiated. Standing by for engine start. The second umbilical now retracted. Engine start has been initiated. Turbo pumps to flight speed. And liftoff. Liftoff of the 63rd Progress resupply ship, beginning a 2-day trek to the International Space Station. Good roll, pitch, and yaw program reported. All structural parameters reported to be normal from the blockhouse in Baikonur 50 seconds into the flight. Engine chamber pressures are nominal. Courtesy of Roscosmos, this animation depicting the progress and the Soyuz booster en route to orbit. 1 minute 34 seconds into the flight, passing through maximum dynamic pressure now. The vehicle has gone supersonic. All parameters reported to be normal. Launch time was officially pegged at 11:23 and 57 seconds Central Time, 10:23 and 57 seconds p.m. in Baikonur. And we have first stage separation. The Progress and its Soyuz booster, 30 miles in altitude, 73 miles downrange from the Baikonur Cosmodrome, traveling more than 4,000 miles an hour. All structural parameters are reported to be normal. Good second stage performance. Coming up on the 3-minute mark into the flight. Everything proceeding normally. 5 minutes, 45 seconds of powered flight remaining.
Параметры системы управления ракетоносителя в норме. Стабилизация изделия устойчивая.
Good second stage performance. All structural parameters continue to perform as advertised. The Progress aiming for a precise keyhole in space to begin its flight toward the International Space Station and an arrival on Saturday.
Параметры системы управления ракетоносителем.
4 minutes into the flight.
нормальные. Время
About 37 seconds until second stage shutdown.
секунд. 351 миллисекунды. 330. Стабилизация изделия устойчивая.
Second stage performance is reported to be nominal.
Ступени работает нормально.
Pitch, roll and yaw, very stable, everything going very well. Standing by for second stage shutdown. Third stage ignition upcoming. We have second stage shutdown and separation, third stage ignition and launch shroud jettison. 104 miles in altitude, 179 miles downrange from the Baikonur Cosmodrome, velocity almost 9,000 miles an hour. This stage will burn for about 3 minutes and 15 seconds. Everything continues to go very smoothly. Good third stage engine performance reported as we have passed the 6-minute mark into the flight. All parameters reported to be normal. Third stage shutdown and engine cutoff time calculated to be 8 minutes and 45 seconds, just over 2 minutes from now. The vehicle is very, very stable according to launch controllers in Baikonur. Again, once the Progress separates from the third stage, control of the mission to the International Space Station for this vehicle will be handed over to the flight control team at the Russian Mission Control Center in Korolyov outside Moscow. 7 minutes, 20 seconds into the flight. About a minute and a half of powered flight remaining. At the point of third stage shutdown and spacecraft separation, the Progress will have reached orbital velocity of almost 17,000 miles an hour. With additional engine firings to increase its altitude and to fine-tune its path to the International Space Station planned later today and again on Friday. Coming up on the 8-minute mark. Well, reports from the blockhouse in Baikonur continue to be good. Nominal performance. 8 minutes, 20 seconds into the flight, about 25 seconds of powered flight remaining. Standing by for third stage shutdown. And we have third stage shutdown, spacecraft separation reported. Standing by for array and navigational antenna deploy. And we have confirmation now through our visiting vehicle officer here in Mission Control that all of the navigational antennas and solar arrays have deployed normally. A flawless ascent for the Progress 63 cargo craft. Again, launch time was 11:23 and 57 seconds a.m. Central Time, 10:23 and 57 seconds p.m. in Baikonur. Seconds after leaving the launch pad, the Soyuz booster disappeared into a bank of clouds, but you saw the animation all the way up through third stage separation and spacecraft separation. Everything proceeded right on the money. A flawless ascent to orbit for the Progress resupply vehicle, the second in as many weeks to head to the International Space Station, with a third resupply ship, the SpaceX Dragon cargo craft, scheduled for launch on April 8th. And again, all navigational antennas and solar arrays were deployed normally just seconds after the spacecraft separated from its third stage of the Soyuz booster. Telemetry is already being processed, as you can see from this engineering overlay from the Core's automated rendezvous system that will come into play on Saturday during the terminal phase of the Progress's approach for its automated link up to the aft port of the Zvezda service module. To recap, the Progress 63 cargo craft carrying just a shade over 3 tons of food, fuel, and supplies for the residents of the International Space Station lifted off on time from Site 31 of the Baikonur Cosmodrome in Kazakhstan at 11:23 and 57 seconds a.m. Central Time, 10:23 and 57 seconds p.m. at the launch site in Baikonur. All of the ascent performance calls were normal as the 3 stages of the Soyuz 2.1A booster performed to perfection. The Progress separated from the third stage 8 minutes 45 seconds after launch, and seconds later deployed all of its navigational antennas and its solar arrays as it begins its 2-day trek to reach the International Space Station on Saturday. With that, we'll wrap up our launch coverage with a couple of programming notes. All of the Progress's activities, as well as the activities of the Expedition 47 crew on board the International Space Station, will be the focus of our Space Station live broadcast on Friday at 10 a.m. Central Time, 11 a.m. Eastern Time. On Saturday, we will pick up the ball with our docking coverage for Progress 63 as we go on the air at 12:15 p.m. Central Time, 1:15 p.m. Eastern Time with docking coverage. The docking itself scheduled at 1 p.m. Central Time, 2 p.m. Eastern Time. You can continue to follow all of the activities of the International Space Station and its crew members on our website at www.nasa.gov/station. For now, we'll wrap up our coverage. Have a good day. This is Mission Control Houston.